Hey everybody, this week's video is going to be one of my favorite new card games that I've been playing, Altered, the trading card game, which you can play right here on Board Game Arena. So jump on over to boardgamearena.com. You can play any of the 6 starter decks for free online, just with the Board Game Arena free account. As you buy cards, you can scan them into your digital collection. Let me grab a card here so y'all can see that each card that you buy in Altered has a QR code on it. When you scan that QR code, it is going to be put into your digital collection. You can play with any cards from your digital collection in these online games. So you could play games against other players, pitting your digital collection against their digital collection. You can trade the digital rights to a friend and things like that, and really curate your collection through the amazing Altered website, which we'll look at the end of this video. But for today, we're going to learn how to play Altered using the amazing tutorial that is here on Board Game Arena. So let's get to it. We're going to play a tutorial game of Altered. So I'm going to read a text to you so you can follow along as we're going. I'm going to move my camera up just a little bit so it is out of the way y'all's view of the tutorial here. There we go. We're fully out of the way now. My face matters very little compared to that. Okay, so let's learn how to play Altered. Tips: you can press space to make the tutorial progress faster. We will definitely do that, and thank you to Nekon Yancer? Don't know how to say that, but I love it, and their username is Neko3. Love it. Okay, so we're going to learn how to play Altered, the trading or collectible card game. Centuries ago, life on Earth changed forever. A cataclysm brought beings from worlds of stories and dreams into our reality. It is now finally time to leave the safety of our walls and explore this altered world. Are you ready to discover what lives beyond the gates? Altered is a 2-player trading card game. Each player will play a deck led by a hero. So here are the 6 heroes we're going to get to pick from. On Board Game Arena, all 6 starter decks you can try for free, each featuring cards from a different faction. If you buy physical cards, you can register those online at your altered.gg website, the official Altered app. And then you can build decks using your unique cards to play against other players, and we'll upload a video with that as well today, so you get a couple Altered videos to check things out. The hero for the 6 factions are now displayed on the screen. If you hover over them, we can learn about these heroes. So here's Sierra and Oddball. Here's Kojo and Buddha. I think today we're going to play as Akisha and Taru. If you click on each one, you can even read a blurb about that color's playstyle. So basically in this game, you're going to pick a color, like the 6 colors that are available here, and we'll see which one they tell us to pick. Yep, it is Akisha and Taru of the Ysmir faction. So note on each of these cards you have a hero and that hero's companion. That's going to be important to the story and gameplay of the game. Alright, so we are playing against, I can never pronounce this guy's name right, Sigismar. Okay, each player has selected their faction. The hero cards were placed in the center of each player's play area. You've probably already noticed that each hero has 2 names on it. One is for the hero, and one is for their trusted companion. Unfortunately, the heroes and companions have been separated. Each player gets 2 tokens to indicate their hero's position and their companion's position. As you can see, they are on opposite sides of the arena or game area. In Altered, players will use mana to play cards from their hands. Each card played will help the hero or companion move towards each other while preventing your opponent's token from doing the same. The first player to reunite their hero with their matching companion wins the game, and that means we're going to try to get these characters to cross on this little track. So you're going to start this game out by drawing 6 cards. So after selecting our deck, each player draws 6 cards from the deck of 39 and must discard 3 of them. These discarded cards will transform into mana that we'll use to play the other cards. So here you can see we've got 6 cards. The tutorial is going to tell us which ones to mana. So they say Dorothy Gale on the far left, Ysmir Stargazer, the third from the left, and Alice on the far right. Let's do that and click Confirm Mana. So we can see these 3 cards flip face down and go into our mana pool. If we click on the mana pool, we can see which cards we face there in case that's important to us. The other cards make up our opening hand. So each round of Altered is split into 5 phases, and it goes through a day, like a day of you adventuring, searching for your companion. You have the morning phase when we draw and refresh mana. We skip that on the first round. We have the noon phase. Some cards will trigger specifically at noon, like our opponent's hero here. Sigismar at noon will create a 1/1/1 token on the hero expedition. We have afternoon, where we finally get to play cards, take actions, and really play the game. And then we have dusk. During dusk, we're going to decide which tokens, if any, will advance towards the other player. And then at night, we will clean up cards and prepare for the next day. So this icon over here is going to tell you what time of day it is. It's currently noon. Some abilities will trigger at noon. So like this one is going to create this 1/1/1, one forest, one mountain, one lake or ocean token in the hero expedition. And note this token has some text on it. If I leave the expedition zone, remove me from the game. You'd think that would be the normal default, but it's not in this game. Almost every card has a second life. Alright, we're going to go to the afternoon, the main part of the game where we finally get to take actions going back and forth until we both pass. Or until you pass, then you're out. Each player's turn consists of 2 steps. Take as many quick actions as you want. Like Akisha here has an exhaust me to use this after you ability. We'll talk more about quick actions later. And then you can play a card or you pass. If you pass, you're out for the round and your opponent can take infinite actions until they're out of money and decide to pass as well. So our opponent has the first player token. We'll see what they want to do. They're going to spend 3 on this guy, the Ortis Gatekeeper, who has 1 forest, 3 mountain, and 1 ocean. And he has this arrow ability that creates an Ortis recruit in your other expedition. So since he was played in this expedition, a token got made in that expedition. They played a card from their hand. The number on the top left in the light blue background indicates the card's mana cost. As you can see, this card costs 3 mana, so that's this lighter blue I'm pointing at. You can't see my fingers, but I'm pointing at it, I swear. As you can see, they now have no mana left in their mana pool. The specific card is a character. When characters are played, they must be placed in one of 2 spots, either the Companion Expedition or the Hero Expedition. Our opponent chose to place this in the Companion Expedition, and that created the little token over here in the Hero Expedition. So what do these numbers mean anyway? They're going to determine at dusk which characters move. And we'll go over exactly how those are compared in a minute, but needless to say, where there are arrows and the province you're in are going to determine how dusk concludes. And you're going to want to have better stats than your opponent in relative attribute categories. If at least one of these relative totals is greater than your opponent's, right? So here we're in this first region in our companion zone, which has oceans, mountains, and forests in it. If you're in the lead in one of those categories, you're going to get to move. And in the lead, not tied. So you need to be decidedly the victor by the time dusk rolls around. In that way, as our characters progress, we're going to care about different attributes depending on what zone or where we are in the game and where our character is. But we still care about the other attributes to potentially block our other characters. Again, that doesn't make a lot of sense like the tutorial says. Long story short, big number is good. If our number is bigger than opponent, even better. Alright, since our opponent played a card, their turn ended. So now it's our turn. We need to play some characters of our own into expeditions to compete with our opponent. Let's start with the Ysmir Stargazer. Select it and continue. BGA wants to know where we're going to place this character, who's a 1/2/1. Let's put it in our companion expedition. So if we look at the little arrows here now, we can see that we have gray arrows for all 3 categories. Our opponent has 1/3/1, so they're technically winning in mountains, saying that they would progress if dusk happened right now. They passed because they're out of mana, so they're done for the round. But we still have this studious disciple, so we're going to play him as well, also in our companion expedition. He has stats of 0/1/1, so that really wouldn't help us against the 2/2/2 that's over here. But over here, it at least turns our oceans on. So let's pass for our turn at the top of the screen. And things are going to move on. It's dusk. It's time to see the strength of our expeditions and who's going to move on. Let's take a look at the companion expedition. Our opponent has 1/3/1, and we have 1/3/2. It looks like we're tied in grass and mountains, but we have the edge in oceans, so our token is going to get to move. Our opponent does not meet the condition of winning in any of the categories, so they do not get to move. But if our opponent had 2 forests, had a 2/3/1, we would both be leading in one category and both tokens would progress. So you only have to be winning in one category, which is an important thing to remember when trying to block someone or something like that. All right, we shouldn't celebrate yet. We didn't play anything to help our hero out, and our opponent has 2 tokens over there. So our opponent is going to get to move forward in the hero expedition. So we'll see these tokens move forward at the tumult at the end of dusk. So as we enter these center cards, they're going to flip over. They're randomized, revealing what's going to be in each region. Note that each card is split into 2 areas. One area has 2 and one area has 1 attribute. So when we get a token onto this card, it's going to be really important to have forest-like creatures to help ourselves progress. If we want to advance from here, we'll have to beat our opponent with either mountains or water. Beating them in grasslands won't work, but it will work to block them, so it could still be important. Alright, now we go to night. This includes rest and cleanup. So first, we send things to rest. During the rest phase, all characters in our expeditions will go back to the reserves. That's this empty row of cards down here. Reserve can only hold 2 cards at a time. If we end up with more than 2, then during cleanup we have to discard down than 2. So you can go over 2 in reserve during the game, but you're going to have to discard down during every cleanup phase. So both of our characters move to our reserve, and our opponents move to their reserve. I don't know why this guy is like popping up here. He's supposed to be in the same row as the Studious Disciple. So we'll finally go to morning for the second turn. We've refreshed our mana pool. The first player token passes, and then we each draw 2 cards and have the option to resource 1. We now have the first player token, so we have to choose first, and we're going to choose to resource this Studious Disciple. So let's throw him down there. Our opponent is also going to resource something. Note, we can't click on their resources to see what's there. And next we go to noon, so there's going to be another token. Every turn, Sigismar is going to place this 1/1/1 token. Let's start by learning about our reserve. Our reserve functions like an additional hand, in that we can play cards from it back onto the field. When we do, we must play the reserve cost, which on our cards is this little purple cost. So you can see the Ysmir Stargazer costs more to play from hand than they do from reserve. This is just another balancing mechanic sort of for the designers. Let's look at our Studious Disciple. He has another ability from reserve. See the text at the bottom of the Studious Disciple? The next spell you play this turn costs 1 less. Discard me from reserve to do this. That's another quick action, a support ability. So let's select that and continue to the next step. We're going to use his support ability to play a spell from our hand, because he reduces the cost of the next spell I play on this turn. That means right now, this action. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Normally you'd click the box up here, but in the tutorial, they're just going to do that for you. So they'll discard our Studious Disciple to reduce the cost of the next spell we're going to play. So I think the only spell we have is Spycraft. It has Fleeting, meaning it doesn't go to the reserve row. So normally a spell you play would also go immediately to reserve, and you could play it a second time the same turn. But Fleeting cards end up going into the discard. It's an important keyword, Fleeting. This is going to teach us 2 more keywords, Sabotage, then Resupply. So Sabotage means to discard up to 1 target card from an opposing player's reserve, or from your reserve if you chose to. Then you put the top card of your deck in reserve, and that's the resupply part of the card. So we're going to cast this spell. It's going to ask us to do 2 things. As you can see, it only cost us 1 mana because of the Studious Disciple. It has Fleeting, so it's going to go right to discard. Cards gain Fleeting when they're played from the reserve. So this Ysmir Stargazer, if we play them later this turn, is actually going to get Fleeting as well. So we are going to choose a card in our opponent's reserve to discard. We don't need to see that guy again. And then we resupply another card from our hand onto the field. Our opponent's Gatekeeper has been discarded. Our Spycraft had another effect, moving this other card into reserve. So let's see what we got. Notice Alice doesn't have a border around her. She's the rare version of a card. Every card in Altered has a rare and a common version, and an out-of-faction version. And what I mean by that is I'm going to grab 2 cards from my binder and show them to you. This is a common Son of Yggdrasil. This is a rare version that is borderless. If we look at Alice on the screen now, she has those forest and mountain stats are colored in yellow. That tells you what got upgraded or changed from the common version to the rare version. When building a deck for Altered, you can include 15 rare cards in your 39 card deck. So you get to choose which cards you want to have the upgraded version of. So cards always have like a home faction. Obviously, an Ortis Gatekeeper belongs to the blue Ortis faction. But every card also exists in one out-of-faction spot, kind of like an alliance. It was altered to fit into another faction, and those only appear as rares. So while an Ortis player could have an Ortis Gatekeeper as a regular or a rare version, the other faction that Ortis Gatekeeper is in is only there as a rare. On top of that, Altered has what we call unique cards, which are not shown in the tutorial here. But a unique card is something like, here's an Ortis Gatekeeper. Let's show that one. It is a borderless card with this giant yellow text at the top. And each unique card is procedurally different from every other card of that type in the game. Sometimes it's just a stat slightly changing, sometimes its ability has slightly been twisted, some unique cards are slightly better than the rare versions, some are slightly worse but have like conditional bonuses, so there's lots of versions to run different unique cards. That being said, this isn't like a complete pay-to-win TCG like most TCGs are. You can only include 3 copies of 3 unique cards in your entire deck. So you have a 39 card deck. It's typically going to be 21 commons, 15 rares, and 3 uniques. Occasionally, I don't have enough uniques that are good for that faction that I run extra commons instead, and that's not atypical. So don't feel like, I don't have any unique cards, I'm totally going to lose. Not really true. Okay. So, enough about card types and stuff that we're going to show you on the website in a minute. We have discarded their Ortis person. We have resupplied. Let's see what they do. They are also going to sabotage us. So they're going to play this Ortis Spy. Notice that the Spy has the hand symbol instead of the arrow that the Ortis Gatekeeper had. Different things trigger differently depending on where they're played from. So this arrow means when I'm played from anywhere. If you get played from your hand, if you get played from reserve, if there's something that lets you play me off the top of my deck, I trigger my ability. But this hand means only when played from hand. So the Ortis Spy sabotaged for this turn. Next turn, if it gets played from reserve, it won't get to sabotage because it wasn't played from hand. This second ability that's in yellow, because this is a rare Ortis Spy, the little card with the lines on the outside of it, that means when played from reserve. So when you play this from reserve, it'll create a soldier token, creating sort of 2 bodies instead of 1. So cards will trigger differently depending on where they come from and depending on like the trigger icon on the card. All right. They removed our Ysmir Stargazer. I don't know why they would do that because they had the option to remove Alice. So look, Alice is a 3/3/4. We could play her over here, but our opponent has 1 mana left, and I wonder what's left in their 2-card hand. We have a free action ability on our hero that I think we should use, and I think it's going to tell us to. We have a quick action after you. Use this only if you're the first player. We have the first player token, so we are. This ends my turn, but still lets me play future cards, thereby stalling for a turn, basically saying, I'll go after you. A big theme in the purple faction. Alright, so they did have a 1-cost character, so if we had played Alice here as a 3/3/4, they would have been able to become a 4/4/4 and completely block us. They didn't, so now we're able to play Alice in our hero expedition and advance our hero. We could also play her over here and advance that side, but we're moving out of the further away section first. We're both out of mana. Let's pass and see how Dusk resolves. We're each going to get to move 1 token, and we're closer to the end of the game. Alice was played from reserve, so she was fleeting, meaning she disappeared right away. We only got 1 use of her. A disadvantage of resupply. So that's enough for now in the tutorial. You're going to play until 1 player reunites their hero and their companion. If both players do this in the same turn, we go on to this tiebreaker mode where if you play 1 final day and it's the summation of all 3 statistics from both expeditions to see who the ultimate winner is. If it's still a tie, you just do another tiebreaker day. If your deck runs out of cards in this game, you'll reshuffle your discard pile into a new deck, very similar to Marvel Champions. And there's all sorts of other tokens that you can have. We mentioned fleeting tokens. There are boost tokens that are essentially +1/+1/+1 counters. Those will go away when a character goes back to reserve. There's also anchor tokens that let a character stay for more than 1 round. Basically, when a character would go to reserve during Dusk, instead you discard the anchor token. And there are sleep tokens that work much like anchor tokens, but they also neutralize your stats. So typically used on enemy cards or a card you have that has big stats, but they don't come out for a second turn, basically. There's another type of card called landmarks that we can play over here. You can have up to 2 landmarks in play. If you play a third landmark, just like reserve, you'll have to discard it during cleanup phase. And that's it. We've survived the tutorial. We're going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. And then let's play a game. So we're going to play a real-time game. There's 1,578 games going right now, which is crazy. That's awesome for a card game that basically just came out. We're going to use a starter deck. Our opponent might not choose to, but we're going to play a starter deck game, and I'm going to use my favorite faction, Muna. Tasia the Druidess. Anchor and boost your allies for the long haul, and reap rewards of the good deeds. So let's choose Tasia. See who our opponent picks. Oh, it's Sigismar again. We're used to him. He places that 1/1/1 token. Our hero's ability is the first character you play each afternoon gains a boost. Pretty cool. So we are going to want to play characters that can linger. Let's look at our hand here. We have this thing that draws our opponent a card. I don't think we want to do that in this matchup. This guy's a 4 cost. It's a little too rich for my blood. This guy requires us to have plants out, and we currently have 0 plants in our hand. So we're going to pick these ones for now. Confirm up, and we'll get underway. So we didn't get any anchored characters in our opening hand, which Tasia loves. But we did get a very difficult character for our opponent to compete with. We have a 4/3/3 because of that boost counter from Tasia character in the companion expedition. So it's pretty hard for them to progress in both. What I like to do with Tasia is play a 1-drop and a 2-drop and sort of like push both arenas early on turns 1, 2, and 3, and then see if they can stop, the rest of the game. They have to hold you still at that point. All right, let's see what Dudu Alterado is going to do. They're going to pass. Okay, they did not want to play a card, which is fine. That means either everything is really expensive or nothing was going to change the tide, and they'd rather keep more cards in their hand than cards in reserve. So our little druid here has an ability. We can discard him to give a character anchored, which, as we know, is really, really good. We got another Muna druid. Ooh. I sort of like that. I sort of hate it. We got a 5-cost character. They are going to move forward. What do we have here? 3/2/2, 3/1/3. Let's get rid of this one. And we get to go second, so we get a little bit of knowledge of what our opponent's doing before we go too far. They're going to play an Ortis Spy. What a bugger. In that case, we'll just play another Muna Druid and keep our tie stalemate going. I think they might be playing with the starter deck, which would be perfecto. Thank you, Alterado. There's a little chat in Board Game Arena, if you didn't know. Alright, they're going to play a Foundry mechanic as well. That reduces the cost of the next permanent they play. So they are going to try to play landmarks here soon. Alright, it is our turn to go first. I think we're going to get rid of this. Let's get rid of this Sneezer Shroom. And let's just go all in with our Cone Man here. So we're going to continue to contest only one province. We're going to throw down this... I missed it. Coniferal Coneman. He gets his +1/+1/+1 counter from Tasia, so he's a 4/4/4 with Anchored, meaning he'll still be there next turn. Whoa! Tough 2. At noon, target expedition moves forward 1 region. So this is not a starter deck. That basically says at noon, they get to pick an expedition and move it forward every round. That's insane. We's in trouble, fam. Tough 2 means we have to spend 2 extra to get rid of it. I don't even know if we have a card that discards permanents in our starter deck. So that's unfortunate. But we're doing fine. Everything's okay. let's see. We're going to have 6 mana to spend. So let's get rid of this one. And we just need to push hard. We need to be moving 2 a turn. And they need to be moving 0 a turn. So let's see what happens. They do get to progress from that. That's an auto progression. So even if we hold them to nothing in 3 turns, they will be connected. Big trouble. You got nothing in your hand. I love it. I wish. Empty hand. Totally. Yeah. We're in trouble. Yeah, so here's another rare card again, right? So the regular version doesn't have tough 2, so it might be a little bit cheaper, although the cost didn't change, so I think it's just, that's what it is. They had another Ortis Spy. Well, that is extremely obnoxious. Let's go ahead and sadly give them a card. I'm not wild about that. It gives us a card too, which isn't the end of the world. It's actually really good for us right now. So here's a physical training. This is an out-of-faction card. There's nothing yellow on it, so that means none of the text is changed from the regular rare. It's just available in the green faction instead of the red faction. It's normal home. All right, so I think our best move here with 4 resources left is to anchor Kitsune and to put a physical training on her, because that'll give her +3/+3, which is crazy big stats. They're going to play, if you control a token, resupply. Oh, and they can do, what is this? Up to 2 characters gain 1 boost. They're still going to get to progress. Ugh. Ugh. Okay, I still think this is the right move. We are going to anchor our Kitsune. Force them to decide if they want to use Nurture this turn or not. They should, unless they're going to play something over here, because these 2 cards are going to go back and enter their reserve row, and they're going to have to discard 2. So if you're going to discard 2, you may as well just buff your guys. Get rid of 1, unless Nurture's a card they're going to keep for some reason. They have decided to pass, which is really good for us, because that lets us block them from moving. Buff up our Kitsune, who is anchored, so she'll still be out there next turn, and move ourselves due to Oceans. So we're going to get a double move, they're going to get no move. So we've got to either block them 1 more turn, or get a double move ourselves and win before they get to noon, which is insane. I am not sure we can do that. We need a second character, so I think if we don't win this turn, we're not winning, so I'm going to get rid of Meditation Training and keep these 2. I don't have 8 to afford both, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get another really expensive character. Just what I wanted. Alright. I do have enough for 4 and 3. So let's try our luck here. All we have to do is win in Earth here. And we're already at 7. Feeling pretty good about it. Here we're going to get a 5/5/5 and see if they have any removal. If they have any removal to push us out of a zone, we's in trouble. So we'll see. Okay. Here's the rare Nurture. I always like to talk like when I see the rares about what's upgraded. So it costs a little bit more. The regular one I think is 2 and 1, but only gives 1 boost to 2 different characters. So they are still thinking about mana-ing, which is funny, because even if everything costs 1, they'd have a card left over. And all they have to do is progress in 1 province. No, they have to progress in both. So we do get a second turn. Ooh, that changes things. Yeah, so we only have to block them in 1, and then we can win the next round. Unless they play a second copy of this, in which case we have to block them in both. But that would be 6 of the resources. That would be a lot of money. Mana, that's what it's called in this game. Space bucks. Alright, they are going to resource, okay? And they get their little free token. We got 7. We don't care. Who cares? They're going to move an expedition forward. Oh, no. We have to block them in both. Yeah. I forgot they get to move at noon, and noon hasn't happened yet. My original math was right. We had it. We had it. All right. They are really thinking hard. I think they should move this one to here because there's 2 provinces they get to compete in. And I have to care about those colors in my other region. But they chose to move forward here, which is a choice one could make. So let's get our Sarunius down. So if we block them in both, even if we don't progress, we get another turn. If they get even 1 province and we don't get both, then we lose. Because next noon they're going to move 1 more. So we just spent 4 of our $7, which feels real bad, but we have 2 options here. So let's see, they're going to play a Frog Prince. I am not the biggest fan. And they do have nurturing abilities. So the question is, do I think I need a 7 here? They have 0 in mountains. So I think I'm okay with nurture. The problem is going to be if they have removal. If they have a removal card, we's a sad. They now have to get a 9 in mountains and a 7 in mountains, or remove this guy. They could probably get to a 7 in water. We'll see what they're going to do with their last 5. Dudu Alterado is thinking. Okay. It all comes down to this. There's nothing we can do at this point. We've put our best bodies forward. We could have played the Cone Man and anchored him, but we wouldn't have been able to get him up to 7. They're going to play a Spy to get to 5. They're probably going to nurture to go to 7 over there. We're going to pass because we're out of money, and they have 2 mana left. If they can nurture and play something that has 3 mountain, then we've lost. But it depends on what's in their hand. Alright, they're going to nurture. Let's just drag this out. Okay. Yup. So now they're up to 7 here. So they're not moving yet. They still need 1 more to be able to move. Oh, charge. Interesting. So that gives +1 boost to all of your characters. That is going to let them move over here, but it does not stop us from progressing in mountains. So the tumult is going to happen. We're going to move in both provinces. They're sadly only going to move in 1, and at the next noon, they would have won by moving. So good game to our opponents. Let's do 1 more for good measure so we can try another faction for you all. So we're going to go to games, altered, play, real time. We're not doing arena games, just play games. That way hopefully we run into other people that don't have power decks or anything like that. 1,600 games now. It's going up. Dropping my fidget spinner toys. That's what those noises are. Come on, let's get one. If I had a D6 here, I'd roll it for the faction. But we'll just try to pick an interesting one. We could try to play Sigismar. We haven't seen that one yet on our side. Let's see. Hero for hire. Okay. We haven't seen the red faction yet. So I think, yeah, red. Red's the one. Red is the choice, obviously. Kojo, amazing. So what he does is it's kind of the opposite of Sigismar. When I'm the first player, I'll get a 2/2/2 token on my companion side. So instead of the hero side, I'm going to help the companion side, and it's going to be 2 every other turn. So it's like spikes of positivity. And we're playing against another red hero, a not starter deck, Basir. All right, let's think here for a minute, quick. We've got Squirrel Guy, we've got Bravos Tracer. We're just going to go all in and try to win fast. Rare Squirrel guy's going to get 3 boosts when he comes out on the second turn. Seems great. Are we the first player? We're not. That's even better. When a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, you can exhaust me to have target character gain 1 boost. So he can spread boosts. She can spread boosts all around. So we're probably going to play our Squirrel, and then our Bravos Tracer, and then we'll go forward from there. Our opponent is deciding what to mana. Little do they know we have a starter deck. I believe the starter decks have 6 or 5 rares in them. So not the full 15, but enough for you to be able to see what's going on. So the red faction is more about adventuring and pushing forward, so kind of like an aggro faction, but without the lasting effects of green, which, yeah. All right, they're going first, which is great for us. That means they have to show us their moves before we have to go. So notice this Bravo Tracer gains fleeting when we play them, so they're immediately going to become fleeting. They play a unique character right off the bat, and we get to sabotage it next turn, throwing it away. So we are in very good position. It is a 1/3/1 with Seasoned. When I go to reserve from the Expedition Zone, if I have 3 or more boosts, you may discard a permanent. Seasoned is another keyword. It means you don't lose boosts when you go back to reserve. So they're going to want to find ways to remove fleeting, which Bravos Red has a lot of. So they'll probably try to bounce red back many times. So what we're going to do here is play our Bravos Tracer. That is going to contest over here, giving us winds and grass and ocean. We'll still only get to move 1 province forward, but we're going to block them from moving in mountains, which is great. And we can also play our squirrel friend over here. At that point, we're going to pass. We're going to move forward 2. They're going to move forward none. And we're going to eliminate this unique character they're probably trying to build their deck around with our first action, which feels bad, bro. Okay. So we've got Intimidation. We could make them play the character twice. And then we could play a Haven trainee. That could also be funny. I think the right move here is to just bounce that thing away. We are the first player, so we're going to get our little 2/2 friend Buddha. Our fire cat, if you will. They have resourced. I'm really sorry, man. This feels mean, but we're going to do this. See ya. Okay. Hero for Hire 93. What do you got? They have a province that's going to bring out a spell. The spell removes fleeting, so thank goodness we got rid of red. And we don't have anything that costs 1. This squirrel costs 3 because he's a 4/4 from reserve, so we're just going to have to pass. But we're currently winning both provinces, and they only have 2 resources left. So I believe red common is a 2/2/2, and they could also have this Bravos Tracer that we had. So there's a chance that they'll overtake us. This landmark, I guess I should let y'all read. It is a rare version of Haven Bravos Bastion, one of the best cards in Bravos in my opinion. It resupplies when you play it, and then when characters leave reserve, they immediately gain a boost, which is amazing. They did have a Bravos Tracer. That is the Kickstarter art. Some of the Kickstarter cards have alt art, but that's the only difference. All right. We've got our Haven Bouncer back. Things are looking mighty good for us. We've got a squirrel friend. Do we go for the win here? Not the win, but the move 2 forward here. We're 3 provinces away, and they have 5 to go. So the most you could usually move is 2 a turn. There's a spell that moves you 1. There's a spell that moves your opponent 1 back. There's that thing we saw in Ordis, but for the most part, you're worried about 1 and 1. All right, what are they going to do with their Bravos friend? Okay. Well, I don't like any of that. But we can at least compete here and become a 3/3. Let's see what they do. I'm hoping that to try to win, they play this card to give their bouncer a boost, and then give a second boost from here. And then we just bounce their bouncer to hand. Oh, they don't. All right, so it is our go. We can get one province forward, so let's do it. They're going to get one, we're going to get one. We can use this to bounce whatever nasty thing comes out back to hand. Here's another card that's like essential to this leader's strategy. This Bravos Blade Dancer is a 0/0/0 with Seasoned that gains a boost every time they're played, but they lose Fleeting until they have 4 more boosts. And when it comes in, you get to choose the order of effects, so you can remove the Fleeting and then gain a boost to go above 4. It's a little tricky. They're going to get rid of their Helping Hand, so we're both in top deck mode now. Their characters do get an extra boost when they come out from Haven Friend here. I guess we get rid of Kappa? Kappa? I think we're going to play our Squirrel Friend right away. Before he gets sabotaged again. He's only going to be a 3/3, because this is the not rare version. Our poor friendly squirrel over here. You notice the art changes a little bit between the different versions too. I really like that. It's very fascinating to me to see the evolution of some of the art. Okay, so they're left with 3 only. So if I bounce this Bravos Blade Dancer, the best they could do is play their bouncer, which would win 1 province. Now that they've done that, that's definitely the move. So we're going to Intimidation, which is a fleeting spell. It lets us bounce something back to hand. So let's put that Blade Dancer right back where it came from. Because it's now a 1/1/1 if it comes out. They have to play their bouncer. And they have to play it, I guess, in either region. And they would progress 1. And we would progress 1. They could have a bouncer and something else in hand that would give them a possible advantage. But Buddha coming out strong. We've got a big Kappa for next turn, which is just a vanilla big body. Could be hard for them to get around. This Blade Dancer can get really big if you keep removing Fleeting from it because of Seasoned, so we don't want to let that happen. You can see it just went from 1/1/1 to 4/4/4 in 1 turn. It was only going to get worse. Interesting. So do they have something to pump up their Blade Dancer? Or are they just getting set up to try to block us next turn? They do have something. Okay. Chiron gives the character a boost. That means they're going to have to discard something from here. Wow. You'd think they just would have played that. TBD. All right, we're 2 away. If we can double move here, we are in the gold. Looks unlikely since we have 1 card in hand. They're going to have 4 cards to choose from. One of 2 to mana, and then I guess they'll have 3 cards left after if they mana. And they really need to, because they have 5 cost worth of cards chilling down here. They have to go first, which is great for us. We have a gigantic guy. We also have this Haven trainee. I like the thought of gigantic plus Haven trainee, so I'm going to get rid of Kappa and let them figure out what they want to do first. They did not resource. Interesting. They're going to play the Blade Dancer. That makes sense. This guy's not going to help us much over here. We probably should have kept the Kappa now that I'm seeing how this is playing out. Let's see what they do with their 3 cards from hand. Could be another Blade Dancer. It could be a Chiron, Blade Dancer and a Chiron. Chiron? I should learn how to pronounce these things. Is that the guy from Percy Jackson? I don't know. Oh, this is full screen mode. I forget that I should just use that. What will come out? No one knows. There is a timer on BGA. People tend to think a lot, which makes sense. It is a card game. Every time you play, you like earn 40 seconds back to a maximum of like 315. So, all right. So they're gonna play him. He's gonna give something a boost. He gives it to himself because they're gonna try to block me over here. Little do they know this guy's gigantic, so they would need to add 3 boosts to stop me. Or they're going to go to 4 because they get 1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay. Let's play this guy over here. That puts us to 6. We cannot play those same 2 characters next turn because this guy costs 4. But we only have to move 1 province next turn, which seems doable-ish. It's going to depend on if they have a 1-cost card left, which they do. It's Tiny Djinn. That does not help them. I guess it gets it to the reserve round. So this is a common or a rare Tiny Djinn. When it leaves your expedition zone, if it was boosted, it becomes mana. So it's like powering up your mana. Really much better early turn. But it's just 4 mountain, which is the thing we're going to have to contest with. And they are going to have mountain as their province over here for next turn. But we get our free Buddha, so Buddha cares. Oh, why do you have to be mountains? So we have 9 worth of things that we want to play. I don't really want to get rid of Dorothy Gale, because she's frankly just really good. But forcing them to play in 2 regions seems like the right move. I think what we do is we get rid of that guy. I'm not happy getting rid of Dorothy. She pushes something to reserve, but I think we need to mana because we're getting into high cost cards here. We want to cap off around 10 so we can play 2 5-drops. We are going first, and I think the first thing we do is plop out this guy just to give us an astounding lead over here, 7-0, and see if they want to contest with us over there at all or not. So the problem is our Pathfinder doesn't really compete with this guy at all. He's going to come out, gain a boost, and become a 4 immediately, possibly become a 5. I think the thing to do is force them to respect us over here. We could go to 8 mountains, and they'd have to play another thing on the right, but they're likely going to move there. And if they're going to do that, they already have to play 1 more. Huh. If only we had a 2-cost thing in hand, huh? If we had been at 9, we could have pushed the Blade Dancer back. Why didn't the Blade Dancer... Oh, it did the fleeting check before it placed any of the boosts. So it was at 444, came out, did the fleeting check, and then added 3 more boosts, which is horrible, frankly. All right. What's going on, Hero for Hire? We're not going to get our little boot where I think we're going to get defeated this turn. I thought we were in really good shape. It turned out not to be so. Yeah, so the right move for them is play Tiny Jin here, hopefully play something here to give Bravos Blade Dancer one more boost. They would move in both provinces. We'd be in the same spot, but they'd be up a mana and they'd have 7/7/7 ready to come out next turn, which we need removal for. We have put one of our intimidations down here, and I believe one is in our discard pile. I think we get 3 copies in the starter deck. I hope we get 3 copies in the starter deck. I know we only get 1 Dorothy. Really? They're not going to take a province. Or they have a 1-cost thing. They don't. Wow. That was interesting. I don't think they did their math right. I think they meant to do something different than they did. But yeah, what happened there is they played this Vanguard, which does remove fleeting, but this one didn't have fleeting yet. They could have saved that for next turn. They should have played their Jin. He would have gotten boost, and been a 4, and moved them from here to here, and I would be stuck back here still. Next turn, they could have brought out the Blade Dancer in 1 province, probably over here. And then their Vanguard over here, and who knows what we would have drawn. But we'll take a win when we can take a win. All right, let's quick go to altered.gg. That's altered.gg. There we go. And this is the altered.gg website. So on this website, you can go and find events. Like, let's search in Wisconsin. Let's see if there's any events there. It says there's a ton. You could find stores that you could buy local product at. You can inventory your card collection. So you can view all the cards that exist. You can view just your collection. You can filter by province, by rarity, by what type of card it is. You can look at just your uniques or things like that. And you can build your decks on here. So on here, you can build your decks. They'll tell you if they're legal. And what legal means is that the cards are all valid. Nothing has rotated out. All the cards are owned in your digital collection. You're not still like looking for one. You're between 40 and 60 cards total, including your hero. You have only 15 maximum rare cards, only 3 maximum unique cards, and you can only have 3 copies of a card by name. So if I include a unique card, a unique Bravos Blade Dancer, and a rare Bravos Blade Dancer, I can only have 1 common one left. So pretty fun. And you can view all sorts of stuff. You can look at your collection, you can look at your profile, you can have a list of, like, here are trades that I have had come in or trades that I have sent out. Those are ones that my friends sent me and stuff like that. You can view all the alt arts and all that shenanigans online on altered.gg. And Board Game Arena is the official way to play online. So you can play with those cards right away online against other players before you even go to your first local game night for a tournament or anything like that. So that is Altered. Thank you for joining me for the tutorial and 2 starter deck games. There's going to be a attached video right after this for our weekly video this week that also includes 2 games with a Bravos deck that I have. Actually, the leader we just played against. So you'll get to see another spin on that leader. And I hope you enjoy this and give Altered a shot. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have another video next week.